Rich woman's shocking invitation to poor driver reveals incredible transformation nobody expected. Emma stared out of her office window, the world outside blurred by a haze of regret. Her father's sudden passing had shattered her carefully constructed fortress of real estate empires and aspirations. At 35, she was supposed to be thriving, a glamorous leader of her small, economically divided town. But instead, she felt trapped by the very legacy she inherited. The stately properties she managed felt increasingly hollow, mere symbols of a life that weighed on her shoulders like an anchor. She craved connection, yet each interaction felt rehearsed and plastic, fueled by wealth rather than sincerity. "Will I ever be more than a title?" she whispered to herself, the question echoing in her mind as she drummed her fingers on the mahogany desk. Emma wanted to scream, to break free from the gilded cage of expectations that surrounded her. In stark contrast, there was Jack, a ride-sharing driver whose life was a tapestry of late-night shifts, meals of microwave dinners, and dreams wrapped in the relentless grind for a better future for his children. The very thought of inviting someone like him to her sprawling estate felt absurd, even ludicrous. Yet, loneliness gnawed at her resolve, feeding a desperation that had begun to blur the line between privilege and personal prison. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. She picked up her phone, fingers trembling slightly as she sent the invitation. To her surprise, he accepted, albeit reluctantly. His hesitation hung heavy in the air, a blend of awe and trepidation. What business did a man like him have in a place like hers? As the day crept toward evening, Emma prepared for Jack's arrival with a nervous energy. What if he judged her? What if he sensed how lost she felt? When he arrived, Jack didn't comment on the opulence that surrounded them, his eyes darting slightly as they shared pleasantries. Just beneath his casual demeanor lay the palpable weight of duty, an almost indomitable force holding back his true feelings. Conversation blossomed like a flower trying to reach the sun, each exchange peeling back layers of vulnerability, laying bare Emma's existential anguish and Jack's quiet resilience. Fighting feelings of vulnerability, Emma found herself at a tipping point. Was this the start of a genuine friendship, or merely an escape from her suffocating reality? The allure of reveling in a world so different, yet so relatable, gnawed at her. Yet Jack's presence felt like a mirror, reflecting her own insecurities. His eyes mirrored the world's judgment, reminding her of the immense chasm dividing their lives. As the evening drew to a close, they had a choice to make. Could this fragile friendship survive the scrutiny of a town steeped in socioeconomic divides? Emma's heart raced as her phone buzzed, an ominous message from an old acquaintance surfacing, threatening to unravel what little stability they had begun to cultivate. The storm clouds of her past swirled ominously on the horizon, setting her on an unpredictable path fraught with tension, forcing her to confront the very foundations of her identity. What lay ahead was uncertain, but Emma could feel the weight of it all, and for perhaps the first time, she welcomed it. Emma's phone continued to buzz, each notification serving as a reminder of his looming past and her tenuous future. With a heavy sigh, she silenced it, her thoughts spiraling once more. What was it about vulnerability that felt so arresting yet freeing? Her pulse quickened at the thought of inviting these feelings into her life more permanently. Staring into the chandelier-dappled ceiling, she questioned whether the stability of her privileged position was worth the cost of emotional isolation. Jack's laughter from earlier echoed in her mind, a genuine warmth she hadn't encountered in years. She remembered the way his expression shifted when they shared stories, his eyes sparkling with humor as he described an embarrassing mishap with one of his passengers. It felt exhilarating to connect without the facade of wealth or status. yet her heart trembled at the thought of revealing too much. Would Jack be able to see the truth beneath her polished exterior? Or would he only glimpse the remnants of the woman she'd lost in the shuffle of ambition and duty? The uncertainty gnawed at her. Deciding to act, Emma pulled out a piece of paper, jotting down her thoughts. It felt invigorating to reduce the chaos in her mind to something tangible, something she could wrestle with. She catalogued her worries about Jack's perceptions, her anger at the suffocating expectations, and a burgeoning curiosity about the life he led. Each word felt liberating, yet it also raised a haunting question. What would it look like if she stepped into Jack's world? Spurred by a sudden impulse, she drafted plans for a second meeting, envisioning a day spent driving with him, understanding his struggles, and sharing her own. A fleeting image of herself behind the wheel, swapping roles, opened a dialogue she hadn't dared to entertain before. It was a risk, especially knowing the judgment that could follow. But was risk not the very thing that pushed one into growth? The next day, without hesitation, she texted Jack, proposing a casual ride-along through their town, hinting at the prospect of research for her next real estate venture. The thought of getting lost in his world thrilled her and terrified her simultaneously. Would he accept? Or would he shy back from a woman so enmeshed in a life he perceived as unreachable? When Jack responded with an enthusiastic, "Sure," it shot through her like an electric current. She had sent the invitation, yet the real invitation lay in allowing someone to truly see her flaws and layers that benched her from the public eye. Their dynamic felt different now, as if they were players in a game far beyond their comprehension, each with the potential to teach the other invaluable lessons. As their meeting approached, hints of excitement peppered her anxiety. This was the beginning of something uncharted, an adventure into uncomfortable honesty and connection. But uncertainty loomed in the distance still, a looming shadow ready to engulf her world. The message from that acquaintance weighed heavily on her. What if she couldn't maintain this new stream of authenticity with Jack, when the repercussions of her past reasserted themselves? Emma pulled on her coat and stepped outside to meet Jack. She inhaled deeply, the air crisp and tinged with possibility. This was not merely about seeking connection. It felt as if each step forward required her to confront who she once was. Each moment spent with Jack would either sharpen the divide or fuse their lives in a way neither expected. Suddenly, the thrill of the unknown surged within her. The delicate dance of their circumstances had just begun, and she embraced it fully. But as she looked down the street, a figure caught her eye. Someone she recognized all too well. The figure turned and locked eyes with her. The past had returned to haunt her, and the weight of their shared history threatened to crash down around her. What would the impending confrontation bring? The figure moved closer, and Emma's heartbeat quickened. It was Andrew, her former business partner, the very embodiment of her past mistakes. His presence had a magnetic pull. Each memory of betrayal, ambition, and lost camaraderie surfaced with a vengeance. They had once been a formidable duo, crafting dreams and schemes without considering the cost. But now he represented everything she was trying to escape. "Emma!" he called out, his voice smooth, yet laced with an edge that she couldn't ignore. "I didn't expect to see you here." She felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you want, Andrew?" Her tone was sharper than she intended, but the facade felt necessary. He stepped closer, a glib smile on his face. "Just wanted to catch up. You've been quiet since we parted ways. Thought you might like to explain why you aisle-danced into a world of mediocrity." The insult stung more than she should have let it. How much did it matter what he thought? Yet Emma could feel her old insecurities rising to the surface like an unwelcome tide. "I'm not interested in your version of success anymore, Andrew," she replied forcefully, yet with an undercurrent of vulnerability. "I'm not the same person I used to be." "Is that right? You've traded ambition for..." "What? Jack's joyrides?" How quaint. She gritted her teeth, resisting the urge to snap back with all the history that had passed between them. The years spent clawing her way to the top, only to realize that the view was hollow, brought forth a strange combination of anger and regret. What had she sacrificed for the lifestyle he reverently championed? "Why are you here? What do you want?" Emma pressed, concern bleeding into her voice. The thought of Jack arriving at any moment made her pulse race. The last thing she needed was for Andrew to shade her choices in front of him. He leaned in conspiratorially, a smirk etching itself across his lips. "Just wanted to remind you how easily this new life could crumble. You know how the business world is. One scandal, one slip, and you're out." Tension thickened the air between them. He was testing her resolve, but a fresh conviction stirred within Emma. If she had learned anything from her experience with Jack, it was that real growth required facing her past. She took a measured breath, preparing to confront Andrew, not just with words, but with the strength she had developed through forging new connections. "You're wrong, Andrew," she said calmly, core steadied. "I'm building something real now. I may not be where I thought I'd be, but that doesn't mean I'm lost. I am not afraid of losing what's superficial." With that declaration echoing between them, her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was Jack. A simple, "On my way?" But it ignited a spark within her. She felt a rush of determination. She would not allow Andrew's malignancy to dictate her self-worth or color this emerging relationship. "Good luck with that," Andrew sneered, taking a step back. "Just remember, reality has a way of catching up." As he walked away, Emma's gaze shifted to the street. She knew the moments ahead with Jack would not be easy. They would require vulnerability and honesty far beyond what she had prepared for. But instead of shying away, her resolve solidified. No matter what shadows from her past sought to distract or unnerve her, she was ready to share her life with Jack, fully aware of the risks involved. Drew's words lingered like a haunting, but they also forged her into something bolder, a higher stake in the game she was willing to play. The anticipation of Jack's arrival sparked within her a transformative energy. She could no longer hide behind the life she'd constructed. This ride-along demanded authenticity, and that authenticity might just lead her to figure out how to embrace the disarray of her future. Just then, she spotted Jack's car pulling up. A moment of clarity rushed over her. She realized that this was about far more than just a ride. It was about reclaiming her life, piece by piece. As she stepped forward to greet him, she pondered. Would she be brave enough to reveal the depths of her fears, or would she let the weight of her past crush this opportunity for deep connectivity? As Emma slid into the passenger seat, a whisper of resolve flashed through her. Could sharing her truth with Jack finally be the key to unlocking her future? The moment had arrived, and she was ready to find out what awaited them on the open road. Would her courage to confront both her past and her present finally shape the life she yearned for? Or would it send her spiraling back into the isolation she thought she had escaped? As the car door clicked shut behind her, a wave of uncertainty mingled with excitement washed over Emma. Jack's presence, warm and inviting, contrasted sharply with the chill of her encounter with Andrew. The vehicle would become their shared space, a cocoon allowing for either vulnerability or avoidance. She settled into the seat, replaying Andrew's cynical words in her mind as Jack turned to her with a bright smile that momentarily banished the shadows of doubt. "Hey, everything okay?" he asked, his voice laced with genuine concern. The way he looked at her, like she mattered, made her pulse quicken. "Yeah, just had an unexpected meeting," Emma replied, carefully selecting her words. She could divulge everything about Andrew, his smug demeanor and reminders of her past, but something held her back. Instead, she chose a lightness that felt foreign, yet necessary. "Well, we've got an open road ahead. Just you and me," Jack said, his eagerness infectious. As they drove off, the familiar streets transformed into corridors of newfound clarity. Yet, the deeper questions, the ones Andrew had stirred within her, flickered in the back of her mind like a lingering fog. They made small talk about neutral topics, music on the radio, what they had planned for the rest of the day. But as Jack maneuvered through the city, the silence shifted, rippling with unspoken truths. Emma felt the urgent need to break the facade and unveil the turmoil churning inside her. "Jack," she said abruptly, surprising herself with the assertiveness. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." He glanced her way, curiosity piquing. "What do you think about success? Like, what does it mean to you?" The question felt both simple and loaded, her heart racing as she awaited his response. Jack's brow furrowed thoughtfully. "Success? I think it's about being fulfilled, you know? Not just climbing career ladders or accumulating wealth. It's more about happiness and doing what you love." His answer resonated within her, bringing forth a realization that had eluded her for years. The definition of success that Andrew embodied, power, money, recognition, was so far removed from her own values now. Emma felt emboldened, her resolve strengthening. "You're right," she confirmed, surprised at how liberating it felt to articulate her beliefs. "For a long time, I was caught up in the notion that success equated to being at the top, but I'm starting to realize it's about much more than that." "Exactly." Jack's enthusiasm lit up the interior of the car. "What matters is how you feel each day. Choose what makes you happy." Suddenly the air shifted. Somewhere in the depths of her mind, the old fears nestled in, replaced by unfamiliar echoes of hope. What if she could live her truth as he described? Just a few clear moments with Jack made her aware she was capable of more than simply fleeing from her past. She could reshape her narrative, starting now. However, doubt loomed as Andrew's words tangled with her thoughts, creating a web of second-guessing. Could her honesty lead Jack to see her for who she truly was? The thought of revealing her deeper vulnerabilities, of the past and ambitions she had lost, filled her with anxiety. "What is it?" Jack probed gently, sensing her turmoil. "You're biting your lip like you're wrestling with something." Emma's mind raced. She could either continue building walls or risk everything by stepping into the vulnerability of real connection. This was no longer merely about sharing a ride. It was about accepting the unvarnished truths of herself. But was she prepared for the potential fallout? "Jack, I want to be open with you about my past, that I've made mistakes and hurt people." Her voice trembled slightly, yet as she spoke, Emma felt a crack forming in her fear-laden armor, a desire to be seen in her raw authenticity. Before she could forge ahead, Jack pulled over suddenly, eyes locked onto hers with fierce sincerity. "Emma, whatever it is, I promise I'm here for you. Just be honest. Whatever you've been through won't change how I feel about you." The warmth in his words urged her to take the plunge, but just as she opened her mouth to reveal the truth, her phone buzzed in her pocket again. Emma's heart sank. She knew it could be from Andrew, or someone else wanting to pull her back into the clangor of her old life. The crossroads lay ahead. Would she step into the light of her truth, or allow distractions to consume her once more? As she hesitated, Jack's gaze remained steady, an anchor amidst her storm. Would she choose the path of courage and share her reality with him, or retreat into the safety of silence, risking the potential of this newfound connection? The air buzzed with tension, and she could feel the weight of the decision bearing down. The moment for vulnerability was now, but would she seize the opportunity? Emma's phone buzzed insistently, the screen lighting up, momentarily shattering the intimate conversation. She glanced down, her heart thrumming. A notification from Andrew. The mere sight of his name set off a cascade of emotions, dredging up insecurity and forcing her to confront the undeniable pull of her past. "What's going on?" Jack's tone softened further, concern knitting his brow. "Emma, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to." The choice hung in the air like a heavy cloud. The volume of that moment escalated, every element colluding to test her resolve. She felt her pulse quicken, caught between two worlds, the turbulent waters of her previous life, represented by Andrew, and the calm, buoyant current of possibility that swirled around Jack. Emma took a deep breath, retreating momentarily into the depths of her thoughts. Andrew's world was loud, demanding, and choked with expectations. Jack's world seemed warm, inviting, the kind where laughter could outshine anxiety. Her response to the text felt like an urgent decision of monumental significance. In this quiet moment with Jack, clarity illuminated an unsettling truth. The longer she remained tethered to her past, the harder it became to break free. With trembling fingers, she powered off her phone and set it in the cup holder between them, a tangible act of defiance against the forces that beckoned her back into chaos. The silence in the car deepened, drawing an invisible curtain around their little sanctuary. Jack's gaze bore into her, not with impatience or expectation, but with an understanding that boosted her courage. "Thank you," she said, her voice finding resolution, "for caring enough to ask." "Always," he replied, his eyes brightening. Suddenly, the weight of her past felt lighter. Accelerating toward honesty, Emma pushed back against her fears, choosing to embrace vulnerability, a word she had long associated with weakness, but was now seeing through a different lens. It was empowerment. It was freedom. "Okay, I need to tell you," she started, her voice steadying, longing to articulate the memories that haunted her. "In the past, I was really caught up in the corporate world, driven by ambition, but also blinded by it. I made decisions that hurt people, including myself, because I was chasing validation that never made me feel whole. The truth flew out, raw and unfettered, a sensation both terrifying and liberating." Jack remained silent, leaning in slightly, giving her space to continue, his solid presence bolstering her resolve. "I think the surface was shiny. Career, money, the facade. But inside I was so unhappy. I sacrificed relationships and my own well-being," she confessed, the words tasting bittersweet. "I thought that achieving what everyone around me deemed success would fill the emptiness, but it only deepened it." Jack nodded, absorbing her revelations, and only then did Emma realize how cathartic exposing her vulnerability could be. Each word seemed to strip away the layers of her past, carving out room for something new, something more genuine. "Why did you decide to leave that life behind?" Jack finally asked, his voice a whisper of curiosity laced with sincerity. Emma hesitated, searching for a way to articulate her awakening without the weight of past regret. "I didn't actually leave. I ran away. But now I want to face it. I want to reshape my story, not let it define me anymore." The sincerity of her declaration pooled between them, and an electrifying tension laced the air. Secrets intermingled with hope, and Emma found her pulse racing, not from fear, but from an exhilarating sense of control. "So, where do we go from here?" Jack asked, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. "I think I need to face Andrew," she admitted, her heart pounding in response to her own words. "It's time for me to re-establish boundaries and reclaim the power I willingly handed over." Jack's face illuminated with admiration, one hand resting lightly over hers. "That takes courage, Emma. I'm proud of you for deciding to confront your past." Just as she began to buoy on the high of his praise, a wave of doubt unfurled in her mind. The thought of facing Andrew alone felt daunting. Part of her still feared his power over her. Suddenly, she realized they were closing in on her old office building, an ever-present reminder of her overwhelming past. The familiar streets stretched before her like a battleground, and as she stared out the window, the foundational stones of her life began to shake. Perhaps this was it. A moment not merely about confessing past mistakes, but standing firm in the choice to transform her narrative, to carve out a life on her terms. Emma peered at Jack, and just when she thought she couldn't take another breath, she realized that she didn't have to face it alone. But could she truly embrace her power and confront Andrew once and for all? As the car slowed, and she felt the tension in her chest swell, the decision loomed larger before her. Was she ready to stand up and claim her future? As the car coasted to a stop outside the towering glass structure of her former workplace, the brilliance of the building was almost overwhelming. Each floor reflected years of memories. Failure mingled with fleeting successes, laughter intertwined with bitter tears. Emma clutched the edge of the seat, her knuckles blanching as she stared into the vastness ahead. This wasn't merely a structure. It was a monument to her past life, both daunting and familiar. Deep breaths, she whispered to herself, an attempt to quiet the anxiety thrumming within. Jack's hand remained steady on hers, a reassuring anchor. "You're not the same person you were, Emma," he murmured with encouraging warmth. "You know that, right?" His words were like a lifeline, but the reality of what she faced remained heavy. As she took a deep breath, clarity emerged from within the apprehension. She didn't have to inhabit the shadows of what happened within those walls. This was her moment to rewrite history. With a sharp exhale, she opened the car door, the chill of the air biting through her with a sense of urgency. Jack stepped out alongside her, matching her pace as they approached the entrance. The building loomed taller each step they took, morphing into a representation of both her trepidation and newfound strength. As they entered, the ambient noise, a cacophony of phones ringing, voices mingling, and the hurried footsteps of colleagues, swelled around her like a wave crashing against the shore. "How do I look?" she asked, half joking, mostly nervous, catching her reflection in the chrome door handle. "You look ready," Jack said with confidence, his gaze unwavering and steady. His belief in her was a balm to her nerves. Emma stepped inside, the familiar bustle enveloping her as she ventured towards the elevators. Her heart raced as the faces around her blurred into insignificance, a swirling mixture of the unremarkable and the hauntingly familiar. Faces from her past walked by, unaware of the battle raging within her. When the elevator doors slid open, a sharp breath escaped her as Andrew stepped in just before the doors closed, his presence striking her like lightning. He exuded the same confident charisma that had once captivated her, yet now appeared muted in contrast to her evolving perspective. The air thickened, and Emma felt herself shrinking. What had once felt like an exhilarating embrace now constricted her like a vice. "Emma," he said, his voice smooth and inviting but with an underlying edge that set her on guard instantly. "It's been a while. How have you been?" "I've been learning," she replied, surprising herself with the firmness in her tone as she held his gaze. No longer did she want to blend into the background. Andrew quirked an eyebrow, caught off guard by her steadiness. "Learning? Sounds intriguing. Care to elaborate?" "I'd like to," Emma began, her pulse throbbing. "But first I need a moment. I need to set some boundaries." Silence enveloped them, her words hanging in the air like a challenge. Jack stood at a few paces behind, a steady force that wrapped around her like an unbreakable shield. Emma watched as Andrew's eyes narrowed slightly, a flash of irritation crossing his features. "You're still not that assertive corporate warrior I used to know," he said, feigning casualness, but the edge of his voice gave him away. "You know you don't have to do this." "Yes, I do," Emma replied, her voice steadying. "I can't keep running away from the past. It's time for me to take charge of my life." The elevator doors pinged, their arrival drawing the tension tighter. With one final glance at Andrew, Emma stepped out into the lobby, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and triumph. Just before the doors closed behind her, she caught a fleeting glimpse of his expression, something akin to surprise and recognition mingled with confusion. "What's the plan now?" Jack asked, stepping up beside her with the energy of someone ready to tackle the world. Emma didn't flinch. "Now, I find the courage to speak out. I have things to say that I've never dared express. As they walked toward the cafe area, where the murmur of familiar chatter echoed, Emma's mind raced with strategies, preparing to confront Andrew, not just with words, but with the confidence she'd almost forgotten she possessed. But would her resolve hold when faced with the weight of their history? As doubts flickered through her thoughts like shadows at dusk, she felt a swell of determination building. Failure was no longer an option. The taste of bravery left a bittersweet flavor in her mouth. It was time to unearth the woman she had stifled under layers of expectation. Could she genuinely stand firm? Or would the complexity of their connection pull her back into old patterns? Stepping closer to the cafe's open space, she found herself grappling with the looming confrontation ahead, her heartbeat quickening with each passing second. There was no turning back now. Emma was ready to reclaim her narrative. Yet as she glanced back one last time, uncertainty nagged at her resolve. Could she break free once and for all? Or would she falter in the face of her own history? Emma stepped into the cafe, where the hum of conversation felt like a living, breathing entity. The scent of freshly brewed coffee permeated the air, mingling with her rise of determination. Every part of her wanted to linger in this moment of anticipation, but she forced herself to look ahead and confront the ghosts of her past. Her gaze scanned the room, searching for a sign of Andrew. As she paced through, her heart raced, not from fear, but from a strange excitement she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. She was no longer just a spectator in her life. She aimed to be an active participant. The optimism fueled her steps, each one reverberating with a decision to reclaim her voice. "Jack," she said, halting in the middle of the cafe. "I need to do this alone. I appreciate your support, really, but this is something I have to face on my own." Jack looked at her, concern etching his features. "Are you sure? I can stay right here, a few tables away." Emma shook her head, steeling her resolve. "I need you to trust me. This is part of my journey. I can do this. I will do this." With a final nod of encouragement, Jack discreetly removed himself from her immediate vicinity. Emma watched him go, feeling both fearlessly empowered and abruptly vulnerable. The cafe felt different without his steady presence, but this was the rite of passage she had set herself on. Then she spotted Andrew at the far end, a small table snuggled in the corner, flipping through documents. There was a magnetic pull. His aura still commanded attention, and she felt her resolve waver momentarily. But today, she wouldn't let his charm overpower her. Gathering her breath, she approached with purpose. Andrew looked up, surprise flickering across his face as she stood before him. "Emma," he said, surprise laced with curiosity. "You're here. What's going on?" "I'm here to talk," she said, her voice sharper than she anticipated. "About us, and about the way things ended." He smirked slightly, a gesture that once made her weak in the knees. "Ah, I see. This sounds serious. Please, take a seat." "No." The word was firm, cutting through the casual vibe he tried to maintain. "I want to stand. I need you to hear me out. No more games, just honesty." Andrew's eyebrows shot up, the challenge in her tone registering. "Okay," he replied, leaning back, intrigue flickering in his dark eyes. "I'm listening." Emma's heart raced, the knot in her stomach tightening. "You always assumed I'd come back as the submissive employee who just accepted the status quo. I think you underestimated my potential and my willingness to grow beyond this place." He scoffed slightly, his casual demeanor starting to fray. "You think this is about me underestimating you? You were always capable of more, but you let yourself get trapped in these cycles." Trapped. The word hung in the air. "You make it sound so simple, but it's not really. I've had to unpack a lot of baggage that I was carrying for you, for this company, for my own insecurities." As she spoke, fragments of her past began to unravel before her, releasing threads of clarity. "And you. You were part of that baggage, Andrew. It's taken me too long to realize that. A flash of something, regret, realization, crossed his features, and for a moment she thought she could see the man she once admired beneath the facade. But she pressed on, unwilling to retreat. I am not here to redefine our past. I've come to redefine myself and my future. Her voice thundered softly but fiercely in the bustling cafe, drawing a couple of curious glances from nearby patrons. What you and I had is over. I must hold to that truth, and I'm asking you to let go too. The air between them became taut, a fragile thread that reached its breaking point with each passing second. Would Andrew lash out in spite, or would he offer her the gratitude she craved? Emma, His words caught in his throat, uncertainty now mingling with unexpected vulnerability. It was then that her phone buzzed in her pocket, a stark reminder of how quickly life could shift. She pulled it out, her instincts twining with professional urgency at the sight of a news alert from her new mentor about an opportunity at a prominent firm. You'll have to excuse me, she said, suddenly torn. But a flicker of defiance lit in her chest, and she knew she had to stay. This was only the beginning, and there were conversations like this she'd have to face, not just with Andrew, but with herself. Give me a moment, Andrew, she said, the world crystallizing around her. Because the time had come to face not just you, but everything we built, and everything I was capable of becoming, apart from you. She felt the weight of the decision pressing her toward revelations yet to unfold. The room spun, possibilities unfurling like a freshly written script. Would she rise to the unexpected confrontation, or could she still flounder under pressure? The challenge was laid out, and inside her, a flicker of excitement surged to life, one that maybe, just maybe, had the power to ignite a new chapter altogether. Emma took a deep breath, the excitement within her mingling with an unwavering resolve. Here she was, standing in front of Andrew, about to dismantle the illusions surrounding their relationship. Somehow, the air became electrified with the weight of her words and the truth that had been stifled for too long. You can deny it, but the narrative you crafted around us, one where I needed approval or validation from you, it stops today, she continued, her voice steady yet imbued with a fierce urgency. Each syllable felt like a weapon, sharp and clear, slicing through the weight of nostalgia that held her captive. I've spent too much of my life waiting for someone else to define who I am, and that ends now. Andrew's reaction was a blend of surprise and something else, perhaps admiration. Despite herself, Emma felt a brief flicker of empathy. She realized they both had worn masks crafted by their intertwined pasts. But the realization quickly vanished as she pressed on, the fire of her self-worth blazing brightly before her. Do you really think I haven't seen my own potential? She challenged. I'm pursuing new opportunities, Andrew, ones you might not understand. But they excite me. I'm ready to embrace the unknown. With every revelation, she stripped away layers of doubt both he and she had constructed. The confidence pulsing through her felt unfamiliar, yet exhilarating. This was a revelation that first began in the quiet moments with Jack, nudging her to reconnect with the girl who had dreams beyond the boardroom, a girl who aspired to grow, not just exist. Andrew shifted, the tables turning as he searched her eyes for the person he thought he knew. You've changed, Emma. What do you want from me? Closure? He asked, but his tone had softened, edged with sincerity. What I want, she said firmly, is to stop believing the narrative that our futures are somehow intertwined. I want to establish my own path, and I am asking for you to respect that, not just as an employee leaving a job, but as a person reclaiming my story. Her heart hammered in rhythm with the cafe's backdrop, the colors of her emotions crystallizing into a brilliant tableau of courage. The patrons had drifted back to their conversations, the hum of the cafe no longer a distraction, but a sea of vitality underscoring her moment of transformation. Emma took a step back, her posture relaxed yet strong, as if she were physically shedding the burdens she once tied to Andrew's expectations. "I hope you find what you need in your life too, Andrew. Just know that my success will not be tethered to your approval or legacy anymore." Andrew exhaled deeply, his expression finally registering acceptance. There was no fight left in him, only an acknowledgement of the journey they had both undertaken, albeit in different directions. "Then perhaps," he said thoughtfully, "this is farewell, Emma. I hope you find everything you're looking for." His candor hung in the air, heavy yet liberating. As she turned to leave, Emma felt a palpable shift within her. This was about more than just severing ties with Andrew. It was about embracing herself fully, flaws and strengths in equal measure. Each step away from that table felt like a celebration of her newfound agency, a victory she had fought long and hard to reclaim. Reaching for her phone, she saw the notification again, prompting thoughts of that big opportunity waiting on the horizon. But her mind was clear now. She felt ready to tackle challenges without hesitation. This felt like the brink of something monumental. An invitation not just to a role, but to a version of herself she always dreamed she could be. As she stepped into the bustling street outside, the pulse of the city coursed through her veins. Each face that passed was a reminder of the vibrant world that awaited her. A world where her voice mattered, and where she crafted her own narrative without being bound by the past. But just then, a familiar figure caught her eye across the road. Jack, staring with an expectant expression that spoke volumes. She realized, in that moment, he was key to another turning point in her journey. His unwavering support had been pivotal. And now, standing there, he too awaited her decision. Would she invite him into this next chapter of her transformation? Or would she continue to carve her path alone? The choice loomed large, the tension swirling around her like the autumn leaves caught in a swift breeze. She had claimed her voice. Now it was time to decide who would be part of the story that lay ahead. The cool air kissed Emma's cheeks as she approached Jack, who stood an anchor amidst the chaotic flow of the street. She felt the weight of his gaze, curious, encouraging, and underlined with something deeper, something yet unspoken. In that moment, she was acutely aware of the shift within herself. The girl who once withered under disapproval now radiated a confidence that challenged convention. "Hey," she greeted him, her voice steadier than she felt. Though the street buzzed around them, she sensed a bubble of intimacy forming, creating a pocket for her thoughts and emotions to unfold. "Hey," Jack replied, a subtle warmth in his tone. "I saw you in there with Andrew. You looked different." His choice of words struck her. Different. Was that merely superficial? Or did it hint at deeper layers of change? Emma searched his eyes, wanting him to see her, wanting herself to outline the full scope of the transformation that had begun to bloom. "I feel different," she admitted, the truth rolling off her tongue with ease. "I just had a conversation that I've been putting off for too long, and it was freeing." Jack nodded, hands tucked into his pockets as though grounding himself against the intensity of the moment. "That's great, Emma. It takes guts to confront people like that. So what's next?" A tingle of exhilaration shot through her. "I want to pursue a new direction. I've been considering various opportunities, and for the first time, I'm ready to claim them as my own." "What do you mean?" he pressed, his curiosity igniting something within her. "I've been waiting for someone to tell me I'm ready for a promotion, ready for success. But I've realized that it's not about waiting anymore. It's about stepping into my power." She sensed the words holding a weight that resonated deep, reflecting the changes blooming within her and illuminating her path. Yet, a flicker of doubt crept in. Was she really ready for this leap? "Emma, that's incredible," Jack affirmed. His belief was palpable, and with it came the realization that her transformation didn't need to happen in isolation. "You should absolutely explore those ventures. I can help, or even connect you with someone." But she interjected, a sudden epiphany igniting her thoughts. No, I need to do this on my own. It's crucial that I not only recognize my abilities, but also prove them to myself. I don't want anyone else's shadow over my aspirations. The firmness in her declaration surprised her, revealing an unexpected conviction. His brow furrowed, and Emma wondered if the shift was too abrupt. But Jack's gaze held steadfast. I get it. Just remember, you don't have to shoulder everything alone. You have people who care about you. A flood of warmth enveloped her at his words, a reminder of the connections she had often neglected in her quest for independence. Standing on the cusp of this new journey, the thought of companionship felt daunting and exhilarating. You're right. It's just that I am terrified, she admitted, vulnerability creeping into her tone. Each option seems monumental, and I've never been good with what-ifs. Fear can be a good thing, he said gently. It means you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You'll find your footing the more you embrace the unknown. His encouragement struck a chord, a reminder that growth often lay beyond those unsettling moments of indecision. She stood there, inhaling the crisp air, allowing a sense of clarity to wash over her. She could feel the world swirling with possibilities, waiting for her to make her next move. Perceiving the spark of motivation within her, and armed with Jack's unwavering support, she felt a chance to refine her new narrative, one that she would author across the unwritten pages of her future. Jack, she said suddenly, biting her lip as anticipation bubbled inside her. I'm thinking about joining this startup. They're doing some innovative things in the tech space, and I feel drawn to it. He leaned in, excitement lighting his features. That's brilliant. You've got to go for it. But his expression shifted slightly, a hint of concern peeking through. But what if they don't see your full potential? A moment of silence fell as Emma contemplated this. She knew there would be challenges ahead, obstacles designed to test both her resolve and her talents. But as she stood there with Jack, warmth flooding her heart, she understood that her worth would not be diminished by others' perceptions. As they continued their conversation, plans for her upcoming audition for her new life crystalline in her mind, she felt another subtle shift in her core. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, a blend of anticipation that drove her forward. The compass of her life was spinning, aligning toward something monumental. Just then, a notification buzzed on her phone, and Emma's heart raced as she glimpsed the email. The opportunity for the startup awaited her response. A chance, a potential turning point. The gravity of that moment hung in the air as she turned to Jack, the unspoken question lingering. Would she seize this chance immediately, or would self-doubt threaten her newfound direction? The clock was ticking, and the door to her next step was wide open, inviting everything she had fought for and even more she didn't yet know about herself. Emma stared at the email on her phone, heart racing, as the words glared back at her like a beacon of possibility. The startup opportunity was within reach, but with it came the weight of her insecurities, a reminder of the doubts that had plagued her in the past. However, as she glanced up at Jack, who wore a knowing smile, a tide of determination surged within her. Jack, I'm going for it, she declared, the words feeling more like a promise than a mere statement. Taking a deep breath, she let all of her fears and uncertainties dissolve into that moment of commitment. I am ready to pursue my own potential. I can't let the past dictate who I will be anymore. Jack's face lit up with enthusiasm, his genuine excitement radiating through the air. That's what I want to hear. You've earned this chance, Emma. Embrace it. You're capable of so much more than you realize. His words fortified her resolve. They echoed unwaveringly, lending her the strength to conquer the remnants of self-doubt that had clouded her vision for far too long. She felt a buoyancy rising within her. This was the growth she had sought, not just professionally, but personally, and it was unfolding in real time. Emma tapped her phone to accept the offer, fingers trembling slightly, punctuating the direction her life was about to take. As she pressed send, a wave of relief washed over her, mingling seamlessly with excitement. This wasn't merely an acceptance of a job. It symbolized her commitment to honoring her own worth and potential. "Done!" she exclaimed, unable to suppress the smile that broke across her face. "I can't believe I just did that." "See? You've already begun to conquer your fears." Jack beamed, looking proud yet simultaneously impressed, as if he witnessed a pivotal shift that was both monumental and inevitable. "It's amazing how far you've come." Reflecting on his words, Emma could see the truth in them. Months ago, she had been trapped in a web of expectations and internalized doubts. Now, dedicated to crafting her narrative, she felt a sense of freedom flourishing within her, nurtured by each step toward authenticity she had taken. "Jack, I wouldn't be here without you," Emma murmured sincerely. "You've shown me what it means to be open and real about my journey. Thank you for pushing me." For a moment, silence enveloped them, enveloping them in their shared victories. An acknowledgement that their connection had grown deeper through vulnerability and honesty. She finally felt comfortable in her own skin, having peeled away the layers of pretense that once suffocated her. "But before I dive into this next chapter," she continued, her curiosity piquing, "what about you? What are your aspirations, Jack? You've been driving everyone else forward. What about your own dreams?" The question hung in the air, as Jack appeared taken aback. "Honestly, I've always been focused on my family, but I've been thinking a lot about starting my own business." Emma's interest surged at the prospect. "Why not? You have so much wisdom and experience from your work. You'd be incredible." "Thanks," he replied modestly, rubbing the back of his neck. "I appreciate that. I guess I just never thought I could." With newfound confidence, Emma leaned in, her voice wrapping around him like a warm embrace. "Why not make it happen together? Your vision deserves to see the light of day. Let's collaborate in finding possibilities for both of us, supporting each other, stepping out together." A flicker of hope ignited in Jack's eyes, and Emma felt her heart swell at the thought. Their paths had crossed in unexpected ways, and now they could actively cultivate something fruitful together. "Wow, Emma, I'd love that, but it feels risky." "But isn't that where growth happens?" she replied, a playful smile dancing on her lips. "What's risk if not a chance to redefine the narrative?" Together, they mapped out plans, brainstorming their visions, promising to support one another across this blossoming pivot. The energy brimming between them established an unwritten pact, one founded on mutual respect, filled with encouragement that empowered their aspirations. As the sunlight began to creep down the horizon, casting a golden hue around them, Emma recognized something profound. This was a decisive turning point. She was not alone anymore in her journey. A kindred spirit walked alongside her, interconnected through shared experiences and authentic growth. In that moment, as clarity enveloped her and the evening air turned brisk, Emma felt complete, fully embodied, not just as the woman stepping into her power, but also as the woman capable of inspiring others to do the same. Jack's cell buzzed, breaking the enchanting spell of their conversation. "Let's check it out," he suggested, motioning to the phone. As they shared laughs and dreams, Emma marveled at how far she had come. Beyond just seizing success or breaking free of past shrouds, she had arrived at a place where joy and connection merged seamlessly with empowerment. This was her moment. This was their moment. "Here's to new beginnings, no limits," Emma toasted, clicking their coffees together, a simple gesture that sealed their commitment, both to each other's dreams and to the journey ahead. As she savored the warmth of the brew, Emma understood that the path had shifted, and she stood squarely in the radiant light of possibility, ready to embrace uncertainty, ready to be seen, and ultimately, ready to be celebrated as the catalyst of her own life. Now was the time to act, to flourish, and to embrace every moment ahead with courage, determination, and vibrancy. This was the life she had always dreamed of, and how she would make it her own. You need to subscribe now to this channel for the next exclusive emotional stories of resilience and transformation. Leave a like now to support the algorithm that champions these inspiring narratives. Comment below with your reactions and theories on the incredible journey, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this extraordinary conclusion.